Being in danger could be your parallel self alerting you to a challenge they've faced that you might encounter. Or perhaps a dream about making an important choice could reflect a decision your parallel self has already made, offering you advice on what to do. These vivid or recurring dreams can feel so personal, as though they're meant specifically for you. By paying attention to these dreams, you might uncover clues about your life or the world around you that come from a reality beyond your own. So the next time you have a dream that feels more real than usual, consider the possibility that it might be a message from your parallel self, sharing wisdom from another reality. Have you ever noticed certain patterns or symbols showing up repeatedly in your life? Maybe you keep seeing the same number, hearing the same name, or encountering the same event in different situations. These moments of synchronicity, strange coincidences that feel like they're happening for a reason, might actually be signs of something deeper. Some believe that these patterns could be messages from a parallel version of yourself, crossing the boundaries of different timelines. Synchronicities are those odd moments that make you stop and wonder, is this just a coincidence or is there something more? For example, you might keep seeing the number 1111 on clocks, license plates, or receipts. Or perhaps a certain name or word keeps popping up in your conversations or on TV. These patterns might feel random, but when they keep happening, it can start to feel like a message is being sent to you. In the world of parallel realities, it's believed that there are other versions of you living slightly different lives. Sometimes the boundaries between these realities may blur, allowing bits of information or symbols from your parallel self's life to spill into your own. These symbols could be ways for your parallel self to communicate with you, offering clues or insights from their reality. Let's say you keep encountering the same unusual word, like a city you've never been to, but it appears over and over again in unexpected places. This could be a sign that your parallel self has a connection to that place and they're trying to draw your attention to it for some reason. Or perhaps you keep seeing the same sequence of numbers like 333 or 555. In some beliefs, numbers have spiritual or symbolic meanings, and your parallel self might be using these to send you guidance or reassurance from their world. These synchronicities can also come in the form of repeated events. For example, you might meet different people who all share the same birthday, or you might keep having similar conversations with different friends. When these coincidences pile up, it might be because your parallel self has already experienced these moments, and the timelines are briefly overlapping. By paying attention to these strange coincidences and repeated patterns, you can start to piece together the messages your parallel self may be sending. Whether it's a nudge in a new direction or a reminder to pay attention to something important, these synchronicities can be powerful signs that realities are crossing and your parallel self is reaching out. Have you ever experienced a sudden, unexplained change in your mood or perspective? Maybe you wake up feeling unusually happy or anxious, even though nothing in your life has changed. These emotional shifts can seem random, but some believe they might be signals from a parallel version of yourself, a version living in another reality whose emotions or experiences are crossing over into your world. Imagine that in a parallel universe, another version of you is going through something intense, like a moment of joy, sadness, or fear. In that moment, the boundary between your reality and theirs might blur, causing their emotions to influence your own. This could explain why, without any clear reason, you suddenly feel a wave of sadness, excitement, or even dread that doesn't match what's happening in your life at the time. For example, you might be going about your day as usual when, out of nowhere, you feel an overwhelming sense of happiness or relief. While it seems disconnected from your current situation, this emotional shift could be a result of your parallel self experiencing something positive in their reality. Similarly, you might find yourself feeling anxious or unsettled without understanding why. This could be because your parallel self is dealing with a difficult situation, and those emotions are crossing timelines, briefly affecting your own emotional state. These unusual emotional shifts can also lead to changes in your perspective. You might suddenly find yourself thinking differently about a problem you've been facing or viewing a situation from a completely new angle. This could be your parallel self offering insight based on their experiences, helping you see things in a way you hadn't considered before. One sign that these shifts might be influenced by a parallel version of yourself is if they seem unrelated to anything in your current life. For instance, if you're having a perfectly calm day but suddenly feel a surge of panic or excitement that doesn't match your circumstances, it could be a clue that you're picking up on your parallel self's emotions. While it's easy to dismiss these sudden emotional changes as random or caused by stress, they could be more than that. They might be moments where your reality overlaps with another, allowing you to briefly feel what your parallel self is experiencing. Paying attention to these shifts and trying to understand where they're coming from can open the door to a deeper connection with the other versions of yourself living in parallel realities. We all have an inner voice, a constant stream of thoughts running through our minds as we go about our day. This inner voice usually sounds like you, reflecting your thoughts, feelings, and experiences. But have you ever noticed that sometimes this voice sounds a little different? Maybe it feels slightly unfamiliar, or it expresses ideas that don't seem to come from your usual thinking. Some believe this could be more than just random thoughts. It might be a message from a parallel version of yourself. Imagine there's another version of you living in a parallel universe. This version may have a different life, make different choices, or face different challenges, but they are still connected to you in some way. In rare moments, the barrier between your reality and theirs could become thin, allowing their thoughts to reach you. These thoughts might come through as an inner voice that sounds like yours but is slightly different, almost as if someone else is thinking through your mind. This phenomenon can feel like you're hearing yourself think, but with a twist. For example, you might suddenly have a thought that feels out of place, like it's coming from a perspective or mindset that isn't your own. The voice may sound familiar, but it expresses ideas or insights that surprise you. Perhaps you're thinking about a problem you've been facing, and out of nowhere, a solution pops into your mind, one that feels both foreign and strangely right at the same time. This could be your parallel self offering advice or guidance based on their experiences in their reality. Sometimes, the inner voice might seem to have knowledge or information you wouldn't normally have access to. It might suggest actions or decisions that feel outside of your usual way of thinking, yet they resonate deeply with you. These moments could be signs that your parallel self is trying to communicate, sharing their perspective to help you navigate your current life. One key sign that this inner voice might be coming from a parallel version of yourself is if it feels distinctly different from your usual thought process. You may notice that the voice has a slightly different tone or expresses ideas in a way that catches you off guard. It's almost like hearing advice from someone who knows you well, but with a fresh and unique point of view. By tuning into these subtle differences in your inner voice, you might discover that you're not just hearing yourself think. Instead, you could be receiving valuable messages from a parallel version of you, offering insights or wisdom from another reality. This mysterious connection opens up new possibilities for understanding your thoughts and the deeper, unseen layers of your mind. Have you ever found yourself knowing something you've never been taught, or suddenly being good at a skill you've never practiced? It might feel like you're pulling knowledge or abilities out of thin air. While it's easy to dismiss this as coincidence or luck, some believe that these unexplained talents or information could actually be coming from a parallel version of yourself, one who has already mastered those skills or learned those facts in another reality. In the idea of parallel universes, there are versions of you living different lives, making different choices, and having different experiences. These versions of you might have learned things or developed abilities that you haven't in your current reality. Every once in a while, the barrier between your reality and theirs could become thin, allowing their knowledge or skills to transfer to you. For example, let's say you suddenly pick up a musical instrument and, to your surprise, you can play it fairly well, even though you've never practiced before. Or maybe you find yourself understanding a complex concept like a language or a scientific idea without ever having studied it. And these moments of unexplained knowledge might feel like they're coming from somewhere else, because they just might be. It's possible that your parallel self has already learned these skills, and somehow their experiences are being transferred to you. This phenomenon can also happen with physical skills. Imagine trying a sport or activity for the first time and being surprisingly good at it, as if your body already knows what to do. While it might feel like you've picked up the skill naturally, it could be that your parallel self has spent time mastering it, and now that ability is crossing over into your world. One of the most fascinating parts of this idea is how it can make you feel connected to a larger, more complex version of yourself. It's as if your different selves, spread across multiple realities, are sharing their wisdom and experience with you. This unexplained knowledge or ability might be a way for your parallel self to help you grow, offering you skills that can benefit your current life. You might also experience moments where you have sudden bursts of creativity or insight that seem to come out of nowhere. Whether it's writing, drawing, problem solving, or anything else, these flashes of inspiration could be your parallel self's creative abilities influencing your mind, allowing you to tap into their talents. While it's easy to brush off these moments of unexplained knowledge or skill as luck or coincidence, considering the possibility of a connection with your parallel self adds an exciting layer of meaning. It suggests that you're not just a single person living one life, but part of a larger network of parallel versions of yourself, each contributing to your growth and abilities in ways you might never fully understand. Have you ever had moments where time seems to move strangely, or your surroundings feel a little off, like something has shifted but you can't quite explain what? These experiences, often called time slips or moments of distorted reality, can feel unsettling and surreal. What if these unusual occurrences are more than just tricks of the mind? Some believe that these moments could be brief instances where your current reality and a parallel one are merging. A time slip might feel like time is speeding up or slowing down, or you might look at the clock and realize much more time has passed than you thought. For example, you could be working on something that feels like it's only taken 10 minutes, but when you check the time, an hour has mysteriously flown by. Or perhaps the opposite happens. You feel like you've been waiting for ages, but the clock shows that barely any time has passed. These strange time distortions could hint at a moment where your reality has overlapped with a parallel one, and the flow of time from both realities has become mixed. Distorted reality can also involve your physical environment. You might walk into a familiar room, but something about it feels different or slightly off, even though nothing has changed. The colors might seem more vibrant, or objects may appear in places where they weren't before. It's as if reality has shifted for just a brief moment, and you're seeing things through the lens of a parallel version of your world. These moments can feel like stepping into a dream or alternate reality, and they can be disorienting because they don't align with the way we normally experience time and space. But if we think about the possibility of parallel universes, these time slips or distortions could be evidence that, for a fleeting moment, your reality has collided with another one. In this overlapping moment, you might experience time as it flows in the parallel universe or see elements from that reality blending with your own. Some people describe these experiences as feeling like they're caught between two worlds, where both realities are competing for dominance. During these moments, you might have a sense of déjà vu, like you've been in that exact situation before, but with slight differences. This could be because your parallel self has experienced that moment in their reality, and now the two timelines are briefly aligning. Time slips and distorted reality moments can be both intriguing and unsettling. They offer a glimpse into the possibility that our reality is not as fixed as we believe, and that there may be parallel versions of ourselves living in different timelines. When these timelines cross, we might catch brief, disorienting glimpses of another version of our world, making us question the nature of reality itself. Have you ever felt a strong, unexplainable pull toward a place you've never been before? Maybe it's a sudden urge to visit a town, street, or park that you have no reason to be drawn to. It's as if something inside you is guiding you there, even though it's completely unfamiliar. This strange feeling could be more than just curiosity. It might be a signal that your parallel self has a connection to that place. In the concept of parallel universes, different versions of you are living alternate lives, possibly in different locations or circumstances. While your life in this reality might have never brought you to that unfamiliar place, your parallel self could have a strong connection to it. This pull you're feeling could be a moment where the barrier between your realities has weakened, allowing you to feel the influence of your parallel self and their experiences in that location. For example, you might find yourself feeling drawn to a specific neighborhood or city that you've never visited before. Without knowing why, you feel a sense of familiarity or longing to go there. It's as if you've been there in another life. And that could be exactly the case. Your parallel self could live or have significant experiences in that place, and their connection is influencing your own feelings, urging you to explore it. These urges can also happen when you're planning a trip or deciding on a new place to visit. You might be inexplicably drawn to a destination that wasn't even on your radar. Once you arrive, you might feel an unusual sense of comfort, belonging, or even déjà vu, as if you've been there before. This could be because your parallel self has spent time in that location, and their memories or emotions are subtly crossing over into your reality. Sometimes this pull toward unfamiliar places can lead to important events or discoveries in your life. You might meet new people, find opportunities, or experience things that feel oddly connected to your journey, as if you were meant to be there. It's as though your parallel self is guiding you towards something significant that relates to both your realities. Another way this phenomenon can manifest is through recurring thoughts or dreams about a specific place. You might not consciously think about visiting it, but it keeps popping up in your mind. This could be another sign that your parallel self has a deep connection to that location, and your realities are overlapping just enough for you to feel the draw. While these feelings might seem random at first, they could be clues that your parallel self is connected to that unfamiliar place in a way that's influencing you. By following these instincts and exploring the places you feel drawn to, you might discover new experiences that resonate with both your reality and the parallel one where another version of you is living their life. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like your reflection wasn't quite right? It might seem like a trick of the light or your imagination, but that uncanny feeling can be more profound than it appears. Some people believe that seeing a reflection that feels off can symbolize another version of yourself, a parallel self, trying to make contact. When you glance into the mirror, you expect to see yourself, your features, expressions, and emotions. However, there are moments when the reflection appears different. Maybe your eyes seem to convey a deeper sadness, or your smile looks oddly unfamiliar. This eerie experience can evoke a sense of unease, as if your reflection is not just a simple image, but a gateway to another reality. In the realm of parallel universes, it's believed that there are countless versions of you, each living a different life and making different choices. When you catch a glimpse of yourself in a way that feels off, it may be that your parallel self is reaching out to you. This altered reflection could be a representation of their experiences or emotions bleeding into your reality, creating a moment where the boundaries between your lives blur. For example, if you find yourself looking into the mirror and feeling a sudden wave of emotion, whether it's sadness, anxiety, or joy that doesn't seem to match your current feelings. It could be a signal from your parallel self. Perhaps they are experiencing a significant moment that is influencing your state of mind, allowing you to feel their emotions in that brief instant. Another fascinating aspect of this phenomenon is the idea of doppelgangers. A doppelganger is often seen as a double or twin of oneself, and encountering one can feel like staring into a version of yourself from another world. When you look in the mirror and see a reflection that doesn't fully align with your identity, it can feel like that doppelganger is trying to communicate or make contact, hinting at the existence of a parallel self who is living a different life. These experiences can also be accompanied by moments of déjà vu where you feel like you've seen that reflection before or experienced that exact moment. It's as if your mind is trying to connect the dots between your reality and that of your parallel self, emphasizing the uncanny link between the two. Ultimately, seeing a doppelganger in your reflection invites you to explore the idea that you are more than just one version of yourself. It suggests that your existence is intertwined with many possibilities, each influencing the other in ways that can manifest in your everyday life. When you experience that eerie feeling in front of the mirror, it may be an opportunity to reflect on the deeper connections you have with your parallel selves and the messages they might be trying to send. Have you ever found yourself grappling with decisions or emotions that feel completely foreign to you? Perhaps you're faced with a choice that leaves you confused, or you're experiencing feelings of anxiety or sadness that don't match your usual outlook. This inner conflict can be unsettling, and some believe it might be more than just your mind at work. It could represent a dialogue with a parallel version of yourself. In the concept of parallel universes, many versions of you exist, each with their own unique experiences, choices, and perspectives. When you find yourself struggling with feelings or decisions that don't feel like they belong to you, it might be a sign that you're tapping into the emotions or dilemmas faced by your parallel self. This internal conversation can create a disconnect between your current mindset and the feelings surfacing within you. For instance, you might feel a sudden urge to change your career path or end a relationship, even if everything seems fine on the surface. This conflict can lead to confusion, as it seems to contradict your usual behavior and values. It could be that your parallel self is facing similar decisions or challenges, and their feelings are echoing through to your reality. This connection can result in a clash of emotions that leave you feeling torn or conflicted. Sometimes this inner struggle manifests as self-doubt or insecurity. You might find yourself questioning your abilities or feeling anxious about choices you would typically feel confident about. This shift in mindset might not originate from your own experiences, but could stem from the fears and uncertainties experienced by your parallel self in their reality. Their internal struggles may influence your thoughts, leading you to grapple with feelings that seem alien to your nature. This phenomenon can also present itself in moments of reflection. You might suddenly reconsider your values or beliefs, feeling influenced by perspectives that don't align with your usual thinking. This shift could be your parallel self trying to communicate their thoughts and insights, prompting you to explore new possibilities and challenge your own assumptions. The intriguing part of these internal conflicts is that they can lead to growth and self-discovery. By acknowledging the influence of your parallel self, you can gain valuable insights into your own feelings and decisions. You might find that grappling with these alien emotions encourages you to reflect on what truly matters to you and helps you break free from limitations that may have been holding you back. Ultimately, recognizing that these internal struggles might stem from your parallel self opens the door to understanding the complexities of your own mind. It suggests that you are part of a greater tapestry of existence, where each version of you contributes to the richness of your emotional landscape. The idea that a parallel version of yourself may be trying to send you messages is a captivating concept that blends science fiction with metaphysical thought. It invites us to explore the possibility that we are more connected to the multiverse than we realize, and that different versions of us living in parallel realities may have ways of reaching out across dimensions. In exploring this idea, several key signs could suggest communication from a parallel self. Déjà vu moments with extra details you couldn't have known might be a subtle hint that you've glimpsed into another reality. These experiences leave a lingering sense of familiarity, suggesting that you may be briefly aligning with another version of yourself. Similarly, intense or vivid dreams, especially recurring ones, might not be random, but instead messages or insights passed from your parallel self, trying to share wisdom or experiences from their reality. Beyond dreams, synchronicities, repeated patterns, symbols, or coincidences can also serve as signs that something greater is at play. Whether it's constantly seeing the same numbers, hearing the same name, or encountering strange events, these synchronicities might be signals that timelines are briefly intersecting. Likewise, sudden emotional shifts or moods that don't seem to stem from your current life situation may suggest that your parallel self is experiencing something powerful, and you're catching glimpses of their emotional world. Other phenomena, such as hearing your own voice in your thoughts but noticing slight differences, might imply that your inner dialogue is partially influenced by a parallel version of yourself. Additionally, unexplained knowledge or skills, suddenly knowing things you've never learned or performing tasks effortlessly, could be abilities transferred from your parallel self's experiences. Even stranger, distortions in time or reality might indicate brief overlaps between your current world. Have you ever had a strange feeling like you've lived a moment before, or dreamed something that felt more real than just a dream? What if these experiences weren't just coincidences or random thoughts, but messages from a different version of you, one that exists in a parallel universe? Imagine that while you're living your life, there's another version of you in a different reality who is also going through their own experiences. What if that version of you is trying to communicate with you, sending signals or messages to guide or warn you? This might sound like something from a sci-fi movie, but many people believe that parallel realities could be real, and that sometimes we receive signs or clues from these other versions of ourselves. But how can you tell if a parallel version of you is trying to send a message? In this discussion, we'll explore the signs that could suggest that you're receiving a message from a parallel universe and what it might mean for your life. Get ready to discover some mind-bending possibilities that could completely change how you think about your own reality. Déjà vu is that strange feeling when you experience something and it feels like it has happened before, even though you know it hasn't. Most of us have experienced déjà vu at some point in our lives. Maybe you're in a new place, but it feels so familiar, or you're having a conversation and you suddenly feel like you've said the exact same words before. But what if déjà vu is more than just a weird brain trick? Some believe that it could be a message from a parallel version of yourself. Imagine that there's another version of you living in a different reality, a parallel universe. In this other reality, things may be a little different, but they're also very similar to your world. Now, what if, in that parallel reality, this other version of you has already experienced something that you're about to go through? When you get that déjà vu feeling, it could be because the version of you in the parallel world has already lived it, and somehow the memory is crossing over to your reality. But how does this happen? And how can you tell if it's a message from your parallel self? One of the signs is if your déjà vu moment includes extra details you couldn't have known. For example, you might be walking into a room for the first time, but in your mind, you already know what's behind a door you've never opened. Or maybe you're meeting someone new, but you instantly feel like you've known them before even though you haven't. These small but significant details can feel out of place, like they don't belong to your current reality. These moments of déjà vu, with added details, might suggest that your parallel self is trying to communicate with you sending you clues or insights from their world. It's as if the boundaries between your reality and theirs are briefly blurred, allowing you to tap into their experiences. This can be seen as a form of guidance. Your parallel self might be trying to warn you about something or show you a different path based on what they've already experienced. While this idea may seem far-fetched, it opens up an exciting way of thinking about déjà vu, not just as a glitch in your brain, but as a meaningful connection with a parallel version of yourself. Dreams are often strange, mysterious, and sometimes downright confusing. Most of the time, they fade away soon after we wake up. But what about those dreams that feel incredibly real, as if you're actually living in them? Or the ones that keep coming back, like a movie playing over and over in your mind? Some believe that these intense, vivid dreams could be more than just your mind at play. They might be messages from a parallel version of yourself in another reality. Imagine that in a different universe, there's another version of you. This parallel self could be living a life that's similar to yours, but with some important differences. What if, while you're asleep, the barrier between your reality and this other version of yourself becomes thin? In that moment, your parallel self might be able to communicate with you through dreams, sharing experiences or knowledge from their world. When a dream feels unusually real, it might be because you're tapping into the life of your parallel self. These dreams can be filled with vivid details, like sights, sounds, and emotions that feel more intense than normal. For example, you might dream of walking through a place you've never been to in your waking life, yet it feels so familiar, as if you've lived there before. Or you might dream of a situation that hasn't happened to you but seems real in every way. Recurring dreams in particular might hold a deeper meaning. If you keep having the same dream or a variation of it, your parallel self could be trying to send you a message. These messages might be warnings, guidance, or insights about your current life. For instance, a recurring dream about